Here are the top stories for today, December 13, 2019. A House panel approves a resolution seeking to propose amendments to the 1987 Constitution. Malacanang assures President Duterte would disallow unconstitutional provisions in the proposed 2020 national budget. A military official accuses left-leaning groups of staging threats against themselves to stay relevant. And an art auction raises 50 million pesos for victims of Typhoon Tisoy and the earthquakes in Mindanao. Good day, I'm Bench Bondok. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story tonight, the House of Representatives has approved a resolution seeking to propose amendments to the 1987 Constitution. Under the resolution, the term of senators, congressmen, and local officials shall be for 5 years and 3 terms. Currently, senators serve a 6-year term with a maximum of 2 consecutive terms, while members of the House and elective local officials serve a 3-year term for 3 consecutive terms. The resolution also proposes an increase on the number of senators from 24 to 27. There shall be 3 senators coming from the following regions: National Capital Region, Northern Luzon, Southern Luzon, Bicol, Eastern Visayas, Western Visayas, Northern Mindanao, Southern Mindanao, and the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. The measure shall also require the President and the Vice President to be elected as a team, which means that a vote for the presidential candidate shall be counted as a vote for his or her vice presidential candidate. Other proposed constitutional amendments include revisions in the economic provisions of the Constitution, particularly some restrictive policies and other structural infirmities to address the complexities of modern times. Moving on to other stories, there is no room for unconstitutional provisions in the proposed 4.1 trillion peso national budget for 2020. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo made this assurance following concerns raised by Senator Panfilo Lacson that members of the House of Representatives allegedly made last-minute insertions prior to the signing of the budget by the Bicameral Conference Committee. In a statement, Panelo said provisions in the budget that run counter to the Constitution will be vetoed by the President, and there is no change in that policy. Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles also made this assurance, saying the President won't hesitate to use his veto powers as he did when he vetoed some provisions of the 2019 national budget. In a statement Wednesday, Lacson claimed there are still lump sums and vaguely described projects that are now part of the BICAM report. He noted that his office received from the House through the Senate Legislative Budget Research and Monitoring Office a USB drive containing 2 files, the source file and the list file. The last-minute insertions made by the House would indicate that the source file is the list of 1,253 budget items worth more than 83 billion pesos that was apparently used as the congressmen's source of their list of 742 projects worth more than 16 billion pesos that were inserted in the BICAM report signed by both panels. Lacson said he could not determine if indeed only 16 billion pesos or the bigger amount of 83 billion pesos was inserted, since there is no preliminary explanation from the House regarding the 2 files. Lacson, meanwhile, expressed hope the President will again veto line items that will obviously waste people's tax money. Despite Lacson's claims of pork insertions, Senator Juan Edgardo Angara said project allocations could not be considered as pork barrel funds as long as they are itemized. Angara, who is the chair of the Senate Committee on Finance, said he is expecting to send the printed copy of the ratified budget to Duterte in 5 to 7 days. The President has until December 31 to sign the budget. In other news, President Rodrigo Duterte is not trying to kick out Manila and Manila Water to replace them with new business allies. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanal said Duterte was, in fact, doing the business community a favor by being tough on corruption. Andanal said Duterte's tirade against the 2 top water concessionaires have shown positive results, such as the move of the Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System or MWSS to revoke the resolution extending the concession agreements. In a television interview, Andanal said the main point here is that we should not be entering into onerous contracts, and this is in fact doing the business community a favor by telling them that there is no room for corruption in our business industry. He adds that there will be no sacred cows, emphasizing that the president will not allow the corrupt to go unpunished. The two water concessionaires have expressed willingness to revisit the alleged onerous provisions in the contract. Upon Duterte's order, the Justice Department and the Office of the Solicitor General were tasked to craft new water concession agreements that are favorable to the state and the Filipino people. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency on Thursday said Vice President Leni Robredo did not see the total picture of the drug menace in the country during her short stint as co-chairperson of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs. PDEA Director General Aaron Aquino, who concurrently heads ICAD, said Robredo was misinformed due to her failure to meet with 3 of 4 ICAD clusters. Arjanis Cave has the story.
PDEA Director General Aaron Aquino said Vice President Leni Robredo might have felt overwhelmed by invitations from other international communities, such that she failed to meet the other 3 ICAD clusters. Aquino explained that Robredo was only able to meet with ICAD's enforcement cluster and missed the opportunity to hold a dialogue with the Justice, Advocacy and Rehabilitation and Reintegration clusters. Aquino said VP Leni would have a greater scope of knowledge about the drug situation in the Philippines had she met before ICAD clusters. Robredo was originally assigned as ICAD co-chair until June 30, 2022, but was stripped of her role at the anti-drug body following her supposed failure to present new measures in curbing the drug proliferation in the country. Aquino noted that Robredo had refused to be briefed on the roster of high-value targets and on the administration's accomplishments to fight illegal drugs, since her scope of authority at that time remained unclear. In a media interview on Monday, Robredo said she would make public the report that contains her discoveries and recommendation on how to improve the government's efforts against illegal drugs. Aquino believed that the report that would be released merely includes the 2 reports from Robredo submitted to the president when she was still with ICAD. Unfazed by Robredo's impending release of the report, he said the current administration is ready to hear her side, be it good or bad for the administration. Aquino said the anti-drug body is open to considering the Vice President's recommendations to improve the government's handling of the country's drug problem. He noted that the ICAD is better off without Robredo since it could fulfill its mandate without feeling any discomfort. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
The Presidential Communications Operations Office on Thursday said the International Criminal Court can always access the Philippine government's documents related to President Duterte's anti-narcotics campaign. This as the ICC announced its plan to finish its initial review of Duterte's war on illegal drugs by 2020. The ICC in February 2018 conducted a preliminary examination of Duterte's drug war based on lawyer Jude Sabio's communication, which claims that the president has committed crimes against humanity for the deaths of thousands of drug personalities from July 1, 2016 to March 31, 2017. The ICC's alleged brazen display of ignorance of the law prompted Duterte to rescind its membership from the international body on March 17, 2018. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo on December 7 dismissed as utter disrespect the ICC's insistence that it has jurisdiction to proceed with a preliminary examination of Duterte's drug war despite the Philippines' withdrawal from the International Tribunal. Panelo also reiterated that the ICC has no jurisdiction over the Philippines, which is an independent country that has a working justice system. Based on the figures released at the Palace press briefing on Thursday, 5,552 drug personalities have been killed during the conduct of a total of 151,601 anti-drug operations from July 1, 2016 to November 30, 2019. The anti-drug operations also led to the arrest of 220,728 drug offenders. A U.S. Senate committee has passed a resolution calling for the release of Senator Laila de Lima as well as dropping of criminal charges against Rappler CEO Maria Ressa. U.S. Senator Ed Markey, who filed Senate Resolution number 142 together with 4 other lawmakers, said the passage of the resolution demonstrates broad support for accountability in de Lima's case. Meanwhile, Senator Bongo on Thursday criticized the U.S. Senate resolution, saying they have to know the truth first as the president did not politically harass anyone. Go questioned why the U.S. senators are supposedly meddling in the domestic affairs of the Philippines. 2 other senators, Senate President Vicente Soto III and Senator Amy Marcos, have also rejected the resolution, saying the Philippines is no longer a U.S. colony. Still to come, a military official accuses left-leaning groups of staging threats against themselves to stay relevant. And the government provides alternative livelihood for workers affected by the 3-month ban in sardines fishing. These stories are next when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ano ang Pilipinas noong 1960s? Noong 1960s, ang Pilipinas ay pangalawa sa may pinakamalaking ekonomiya sa buong Asya na sumusunod sa bansang Japan. Natamasa ng Pilipinas ang pinakamalaking pag-unlad ng ekonomiya nito mula 1972 hanggang 1979. Ngunit, sa pagsibol ng CPP noong December 26, 1968 at NPA noong March 29, 1969, isang revolusyonaryong organisasyon ang itinatag ni Jose Maria Cis na naglalayong pabagsakin ang gobyerno at patuloy na humahadlang sa pag-unlad ng Pilipinas sa loob ng 50 taon. Ang CPP-NPA ay 50 taon nang gumagamit ng mga kabataan mula sa iba't ibang universidad upang maglungsad ng kaliwat kanang protesta laban sa sariling gobyerno. 50 taong pangingikil sa mga maliliit at malalaking kumpanya sa bansa. 50 taong mga pagpatay na nagbibigay ng takot sa mga negosyanteng gustong mamuhunan dito sa Pilipinas. 50 taong pagpatay sa mga libo-libong lumad na hindi sumusunod sa kagustuhan ng NPA. 50 taong pagre-recruit at pagsasamantala sa mga kabataan upang gamitin sa madugong revolusyon. 50 taong pagsira ng CPP-NPA sa mga kabataan na magsisilbisa ng pag-asa sa bansang Pilipinas. Sa loob ng 50 taong kaguluhan, pagpatay at pananamantala ng CPP-NPA. Mayroon bang naitulong ang CPP-NPA sa pag-unlad ng ating bansang Pilipinas? Hahayaan ba nating wasakin ng CPP-NPA ang demokratikong proseso ng ating bansa at palitan ng komunistang ideolohiya? Ating suportahan ang NTF-ELCAC ng pamahalaan.
A ranking official of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-ELCAC, said allies of the communist rebels are using the time-old adage of "threaten me" in a bid to prove themselves relevant during the observation of International Human Rights Day. Major General Antonio Parlade Jr. was reacting to claims of Karapatan Secretary General Cristina Palabay, who said she received a series of messages from an unidentified cell phone number on December 10, threatening to have her raped before being thrown into the sea. Parlade dared Palabay if she's willing to submit her phone for forensics to determine where those threats came from. Parlade said he's very sure that it's another case of "threaten me." He added that he finds it odd that the alleged sender took the time to threaten Palabay during the commemoration of International Human Rights Day. Parlade said if Karapatan is truly an organization for the protection of human rights, then Palabay and her allies would have roundly condemned the CPP-NPA for recruiting minors and using them to fight in the front lines and killing them needlessly in the process. A group of Subannons and other indigenous people staged a rally in front of the Provincial Sports and Convention Center in Zamboanga del Norte while a peace engagement was being held inside. The IP group urged the New People's Army rebels to stop harassing the Subannons, adding that armed struggle is not the answer to their needs. They noted most of the Subannons who joined the NPA are already returning to the fold of the law. The IPs also asked the government and the NPA to respect and protect the rights of indigenous peoples and their ancestral domain. The peace engagement involved former NPA rebels signing a final agreement between the Western Mindanao Regional Party Committee and government representatives. 53 Communist New People's Army rebels swore their oaths of allegiance to the government as the highlight of the third and final localized peace engagement on Tuesday in Zamboanga del Norte. The 53 NPA combatants formalized their surrender during the peace negotiation held at the Provincial Sports and Convention Center in Dipolog City. The surrenderers turned over assorted high-powered firearms to Governor Roberto Uy, chairperson of the Provincial Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. Social Welfare Undersecretary for Inclusive and Sustainable Peace, Rene Glenn Paje, urged the surrenderers to convince their former comrades to lay down their arms and work alongside the government. The NPA surrenderers were welcomed by the members of the National Alliance for Democracy. Staying with the government's anti-insurgency measures, the Philippine Army will continue to pursue the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army in Negros Island even during the Christmas and New Year holidays. Brigadier General Eric Vinoya, commander of the 3rd Infantry Division, presided over the change of command of the 303rd Infantry Brigade at Camp Major Nelson Herona in Murcia, Negros Occidental on Thursday. Vinoya ordered newly installed Brigade Commander Colonel Inocencio Pasaporte to continue the fight against communist insurgency. He said no ceasefire will take place during the holidays as more troops are expected to be deployed to Negros. The Army aims to dismantle the communist terrorist groups, Northern and Central Fronts in the early part of 2020. Vinoya, who also heads Joint Task Force Negros, said they would utilize air and naval assets to complement their ground forces and fast-track the anti-insurgency campaign. News from the regions now. Government agencies led by the Department of Labor and Employment provided livelihood assistance to the thousands of canning factory workers affected by the 3-month ban in sardines fishing. Many of the affected workers will receive emergency employment through the DOLE's Tulong Panghanap Buhay sa Ating Disadvantaged at Displaced Workers or TUPAD program. They will work for a minimum period of 10 days but not to exceed a maximum of 30 days. Beneficiaries will receive 316 pesos daily as salary. More than 2,000 canning factory workers are now also into alternative livelihood like organic farming aside from the TUPAD program. The closed season for sardine fishing, which is from December 1 until March 1, is to allow the fish, specifically tamban or herring, to spawn. About 30,000 canning factory workers lose their jobs in this period. More stories from the newsroom. Senator Bongo offers to buy shoes for young runners who went viral for competing barefoot. And an art auction raises 50 million pesos for victims of Typhoon Tisoy and the earthquakes in Mindanao. We're back after a quick break. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Ano nga ba ang NTF-ELCA? Ito ay National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict na naglalayong supuin ang insurhensya, krimen at karahasan na gawa ng CPP-NPA sa pamamagitan ng Whole of Nation approach. Ito ay binubuo ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno na naglalayong supuin ang komunismo sa mapayapang paraan at para tulungan sila na makapagsimula ulit ng bagong buhay. Pinapangunahan ito ni Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte at pinapangalawahan ng National Security Advisor. Ito ay binubuo ng mga sumusunod na ahensya ng gobyerno. Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Justice, Department of National Defense, Department of Public Works and Highways, Department of Budget and Management, Department of Finance, Department of Agrarian Reform, Department of Social Welfare and Development, Department of Education, National Economic and Development Authority, National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace Process, Presidential Advisor for Indigenous Peoples' Concerns, Armed Forces of the Philippines, Philippine National Police, National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, Presidential Communications Operations Office, at mga representatibo galing sa pribadong sektor. Magkakaisa at magtutulong-tulong ang bawat ahensya ng gobyerno upang tugunan ang ugat ng karahasan na nangyayari sa bansa. Kaya't halina't makiisa at maging bahagi ng NTF-ELCA. Sama-sama nating wakasan ang mga panloloko at panggugulo ng CPP-NPA. Yes to ELCAC now!
Senator Christopher Lawrence Bongo has vowed to help the young runners who, with their shoeless bandaged feet, aspire to be one of the champions at the Iloilo Schools Sports Council Meet 2019. Benedicto Prasas, Master Teacher 1 at the Carls Elementary School and athletics coach, said Go's office offered to buy or at least pay for new spike shoes for the children. The team from the 5th District was declared overall champion in athletics, elementary boys and girls in the Iloilo Schools Sports Council Meet 2019 held at the Iloilo Sports Complex from December 8 to 12. They garnered 8 golds for girls and 6 golds for boys. A post of Rhea Bullos, which went viral on social media for winning the gold in her running events, prompted donors to extend their support after seeing her running with bandaged feet. Pope Francis on Thursday conferred the revered title Minor Basilica to the Church of Orani in Bataan, more popularly known as the Miraculous Virgin of the Most Holy Rosary Church. Bishops from Central Luzon and priests from the Balanga Diocese assisted Bataan Bishop Roberto Santos in a Holy Mass following the solemn declaration. Orani Church has become the 16th Minor Basilica in the Philippines. The Minor Basilica is dedicated to the Miraculous Virgin Mary of the Most Holy Rosary, the patron saint of Orani. Enshrined on the beautiful altar of the 309-year-old church is an image of the Virgin Mary believed to be 303 years old. Father Abraham Pantig, parish priest of the Orani Church, said the people of Orani must show that the Minor Basilica is a living church. Some news to tickle our taste buds. Food tripping in Metro Manila is now easier with a new mobile app featuring iconic dishes and restaurants in the metropolis. The Department of Tourism on Thursday unveiled the app called My Metro Manila to promote the evolving food tourism in the National Capital Region. This is the first mobile application dedicated to the promotion of a single region. The app serves as a guide not only to established diners but also inconspicuous stalls and restaurants. Among the dishes under spotlight are the inutak in Taguig City, the kalderetang itik of Pateros, and the Chinese-style honey-cured ham in Mandaluyong City. It also showcases tourist sites like the Kiu Patlong Shao Temple in Parañaque City, the Bamboo Organ in Las Piñas, and the Shoe Museum and Gallery in Marikina City. With the app's launch, the DOT expressed optimism about the increase in the domestic and foreign tourists' duration of stay in the NCR. And before we go, several contemporary Filipino artists in Cebu raised 50 million pesos in a charity auction for the victims of Typhoon Tisoy and the Mindanao earthquakes. The exhibit and auction last December 7, dubbed Altabang 3, showcased the finest work of Filipino artists from all over the country. The proceeds from individual paintings will be given 100% to charity, while those sold in the auction will be split between the beneficiaries and the artists' organization. Of around 300 paintings exhibited during the event, 30 massive collaboration paintings were put up for the silent auction. Presidential Assistant for the Visayas Secretary Michael Lloyd Dino described the works as incredibly world-class paintings. The first Artabang in 2013 recorded over 6 million pesos worth of paintings sold for victims of Typhoon Yolanda. Artabang 2 in 2017 raised 12 million pesos which was donated to those affected by the earthquake in Ormoc. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. A House panel approves a resolution seeking to propose amendments to the 1987 Constitution. Malacanang assures President Duterte would disallow unconstitutional provisions in the proposed 2020 national budget. A military official accuses left-leaning groups of staging threats against themselves to stay relevant. And an art auction raises 50 million pesos for victims of Typhoon Tisoy and the earthquakes in Mindanao. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. Are your presents ready? It's 12 days to go before Christmas. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. I'm Bench Bondoc. Have a great weekend.